Dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you to this most important forum, who has become a very important place where we exchange ideas, but it is also a place where we establish economic links between Central and Asiatic region and Europe. I firmly believe that the high level of the delegates here present will bring about new developments in the long term in the Euro-Asiatic space. I'd like to thank President Prodi, the Minister for Constitutional Reform, Mrs. Boschi, the Mayor of Verona, Mr. Tosi, Banca Intesa, and most importantly, its President Angelo Fallico, and our moderator, the President Prometea, Mr. Tantazzi, for giving me the opportunity to take part in this meeting. I'd like to say that Professor Fallico asked me to present you with a detailed report on the possibility to establish or to develop a new project in the Euro-Asiatic area on the projects of our company. I won't dwell into the tiniest details, but I think that the situation that I'm presenting you is going to be interesting. Let me draw your attention, dear colleagues, on the limited liability. You know that in my report, I'm going to share with you confidential information. The top expert in politology in Europe are sure that Eurasia is an important subject, and if we accept that, we also have to understand that whatever happens in this area has repercussions in the global processes, at economic investment levels, most importantly. And also, obviously, this has repercussion at a political level. Over the past years, there has been a lot of integration in the way, and as our chairman said, there's the new Silk Route. We believe that this is a very promising development for Europe and for the synergy between Europe and Eurasia. Notwithstanding the pessimistic outlook, the world economy is still very vital. In the US, UK, Germany, and Italy haven't seen a reduction in growth. In China, there's often talk about the slowdown of growth, yet it has grown by 7% as against the previous year. As President Putin said, Russia has adjusted to the new situation, and the Russian Statistics Institute recorded that a growth by 0.6% was registered. The crisis on world markets obviously had the repercussion on the relationship between Russia and Eurasia. Our trade between January and August, our trade was reduced. This because of the drop of prices and not because of the reduction in cooperation. Well, this reduction in prices, this reduction in trade, obviously changes the situation. If we think about fuel procurement, there's a good stability. Actually, the availability of fuel oil is increasing, and exports are increasing. In 2015, between January and 2015, export grew by 5.6% vis-a-vis the same time previous year. And export of oil products increased by 6%. In 2014, export to Europe was 129 tonnes, guaranteeing over 40% of the overall consumption of oil in Europe, which amounts to 636 tonnes. Let me also remind you the results of Rosneft, or the performance of Rosneft. The first quarter, we scored good results despite the negative situation with reference to prices. Rosneft is seeing a reduction in its indebtedness. Indeed, the debts were reduced to 27.2 at the end of September 2015. All in all, the company is amongst the leaders in terms of oil deposits and oil extraction. In the Russian Federation, there's our deposits are long term. Indeed, they include, on the one hand, highly effective oil industry on the one hand, as I was saying, and we can also rely on very good terms in exchange rates. So in terms of rubles, the income is pretty, or the profits are pretty stable. The revenues are stable, and despite inflation, our revenues remained unchanged. So despite the crisis for the Russian economic in connection with oil and gas, the situation looks quite attractive. The situation with reference to oil and gas changed importantly because of the shale oil, and because of the fact that the agreement that was once recorded to the OPEC is now in the hands of the US. The US market indeed plays a leading role in terms of establishing the level of prices, not just because they could rely on shale oil, but also because in the US there's all what they need for the development of the competitive market, i.e. investment funds, stock exchange, well-developed system in terms of ducts, oil ducts, and that obviously bear importantly on the industry. In the medium and long term, the trend on the oil market globally are going to be decided upon by the US market, and most specifically by how, over the next few months and years, contracts are signed for the extraction of shale gas, as you can see on the slide. The overall debt of 25 companies that extract shale oil is of some $150 billion. In McKinsey states that the financial growth for hedging is equal to $9.1 billion. But again, according to McKinsey, in 2016, there's going to be $2.1 billion that are going to be protected by the price situation, especially the two sites with most productive state hedging will probably be reduced. So banks can provide financing for real deposits as connected to the assets of companies that are already in the industry of extraction or drilling. And these credits for these loans for drilling is the only possibility for medium and small size companies to be in business, and this is going to be the situation up until 2017. Shale oil companies restructure their asset and sell their non-active assets and deal with the programming of the expenditures, and we must say that shale companies scored good performances. The shale industry includes over 1,000 companies, and in the first 3 quarters of 2015 as against 2014 grew importantly. So the We expected a reduction of extraction, but this process is not going to be as abrupt as originally expected. As for the long-term prospect, well, the most important factor to consider is the amount of resources available. Based on existing assessment, we expect that the growth and consumption of oil can be guaranteed only by the extraction of also very expensive deposits. The cost of new extraction up until 2016 should guarantee some 33 million barrels per day. Well, that shows us that the last 33 million are going to be a very expensive oil. And this is going to be the price for 2015. The cost will range in between 85 and 98 billion dollars per barrel. Extraction is declining both in the North Sea and in the Netherlands. As for the oil market, obviously whatever happens on the oil market has repercussions on the countries where that is extracted, because when the price of oil is growing, obviously the margin for profits of the processing of that oil is reduced. The processing industry in Europe has gone through difficulties, and indeed negative profits have been recorded. Also because of the tax policy, also because of the environmental laws, and because of the competition. As for 2010, from 2010 in Europe, some 100 million tons of oil has stopped being processed. So Europe still has a number of long-term hindrances to overcome. Indeed, the problem include low demand, growing competition, and we might expect a further worsening of the situation in Europe for 2017. Up until 2040, the European market of oil processed products will see a surplus of products. This obviously is impacted also by the quality of the oil being extracted. So those countries drawing benefit from a stable extraction amount will reap the benefits. In the case of long-term contract in the raw material provision, refining businesses can develop their strategy more consistently. Problems to be further studied, not just in the present point in time, not just in the relationship between Western Europe and Russia, but also considering Eurasia, including Middle East and China as well. We have to fully study all what happens at the different pace of growth and the potential interactions. So what is the global trend in the Eurasiatic space? And what happens especially with reference to energy? Well, we believe that the most important thing is the redistribution towards the Asian part of the continent. Europe, Russia included in world consumption, is going to see a reduction of its quota of consumption to 19% in 2015 and 16% in 2013, whereas Asia is going to have a growing share from 32 to 50, if not to 54. There's a clear trend there, and that obviously brings about a number of consequences also in terms of investments and technology flows. So if more oil is processed in the east, we're going to see a number of consequent changes there. Because again, there are different needs and requirements to be met. So there's a underway a redistribution of flows. We are seeing growing flows in Asia and the Pacific area, a reduction in the States, and in Europe we see that supplies are diversified. OPEC is not playing the role that it used to play, so we are witnessing a greater importance being played by the US as regulator. Shell meant to buy BG. Eurasia is the largest producer. Indeed, the overwhelming majority of deposits are there to be found. 60% of the oil extracted comes from that region. The two top producers are Russia and Saudi Arabia, that again are part of the Eurasia, of the Eurasiatic component, but that obviously cannot satisfy the need of the world over. There's always a deficit, and this deficit is bound to grow. So oil producers in Eurasia certainly are at an advantage if providing for certain markets such as Russia, for example. Russia is one of the top supplier of gas and oil, and export also to Europe, and it may see a growing role being played in the Asian and Pacific region. We're going to witness boom the car industry in the developing countries, so that is going to be followed by a slowdown in the oil industry. We're witnessing a reduction in investment. According to McKinsey, there's a reduction again in the investment, and we believe that this is optimistic estimate. As a matter of fact, there could be even up to a reduction of $300 billion. The ratio between investment and volume of oil extracted may change, and we've seen with the new technology that an important increase was recorded, but in 26 we were expecting a total reduction of extraction with a consequent block of the market. So what should we do today so as to grant sustainable development in the future? Well, Saudi Arabia, as you see, is covering a growing share of the market. They still extract, even in a situation of low prices. Import from the US and imports from the Middle East has slowed down from 115 million tons to 18 in 2015. And despite all problems in the area, the Middle East has seen an increase by 114 million tons. So the Middle East is still looking for new outlets for its oil, and this obviously includes Europe, or has indeed the alternative oil is being also imported by Kurdistan. And in Poland, after the visit of the first minister in Saudi Arabia, a number of agreements were entered into in terms of Arab oil being supplied to Poland to be further refined and processed in Poland in the Danzica area. These supplies may not be secure because Saudi Arabian oil doesn't have logistic advantage. Saudi Arabia probably is at a disadvantage. A low price indeed forced it to spend dollars coming from the sovereign funds and to subscribe loans both domestically and internationally. Saudi Arabia recommended its ministers to reduce expenditures, not buying more cars, nor buying more real estate, and freeze the hiring of new staff. So basically OPEC has forgone its role, and this has been further confirmed by the meeting that took place yesterday that led to no decision being made. OPEC has entered into new dialogues with other producers, and there are 5 countries that were not part of OPEC. Despite the crisis, despite sanctions, Rosneft is still one of the companies investing more worldwide in terms of oil and gas. In 2016, we'll invest. In 2015, the investment will be equal to 21.9 billion euro. The plans for 2017 and 2018 will see a further increase up to 23 billion euro per year. We expect important orders, especially in the mechanical business and the chemical and the petrochemical businesses. All in all, the need for technical will be of some $15.9 billion euros, and we'll need the following: over 2.5 million tons of casing and tubing, and then chemicals, additives, and other chemical products, over 47,000 kilometers of cables, of downhole cables, over 17,000 downhole pumps for production, over 2,800 transformers, substations, and I'm going to be a bit I'm going to dwell on that because I know that there are a lot of people providing these products and services. We needed to negotiate with Europe. Indeed, the contract we entered into was much lower this year than previously, usually to the advantage of Asian Pacific and US countries. I believe that European suppliers should get back to their old stances and positions. Russia received great support by the state and the government, and this may enable us to may enable you to get a market share. Zvezdast is key for the offshore oil deposits. Also, we need a lot of equipment for our offshore drilling. Over 5 billion euro per year is the amount to be spent. We're going to need electronic equipment, and I believe that Italian companies can be involved. Let me quote again the joint venture company between Russia and Italy for the production of helicopters. This is a very good example because Rosneft contributes 880-200 Technic units. I'd like to welcome Mr. Moretti. I know that we're going to work together again next week. The problem of developing the cooperation in Eurasia is most important. Obviously, the Euro-Asiatic cooperation is key. This is an historical process, but there's a multilateral synergy that has already been arrived at. No doubt, this will have repercussions on the procurement coming from the Middle East. from Kazakhstan and other countries of the Eurasian space. In 2014, the procurement of oil from Russia to Europe amounted to 41 of these tons were obtained thanks to the contracts existing at Rosneft. I believe that we shouldn't just concentrate on that, but we could start up new cooperation also in the field of energy risk insurance. Technology transfer is also very important. Training of staff, macroeconomic trends, as well as the development of the world economic market play a key role. Energy sources, again, are to be found mostly in Eurasia and to the Asian Pacific area. This obviously gives an opportunity for the Italian businesses, so you can work with the Russian partners in terms of provision of offering loans, equipment. A company alone can offer contract for $5 billion. And I believe that further developments are to be expected within Russia, Europe, and Asiatic and Pacific countries. We are obviously to promote the profits. I'd like to remind you that one of the most important projects is a project that was developed with Pirelli. Thanks to us, Pirelli restructured their debt and merged with ChemChina. Pirelli showed a very innovative and a praiseworthy approach in taking full advantage of the synergy that can be drawn from the Euro-Asiatic cooperation. This is a clear example to be followed for all the different technologies, using all the potentials, all the resources that can be found both in Russia and China. Energy as well as food products are key to also because they are so important for our lifestyle. In that case, obviously, we cannot tolerate the infringements coming from outside. So there are no alternatives to our cooperation. I'd like to thank our Italian partners for their cooperation and for their support of Pirelli, Finmechanic, Autogrill, Pietro Barbaro, Intesa San Paolo, Unicredit, and many more. I wish you all great success. Thank you very much for your kind attention.